My name is Mike Sullivan. I'm a former IRS agent and teaching instructor. Welcome to my YouTube channel. They're short, they're sweet, and they're about no more than 5 minutes long. I'd like to give you the information that you need. As a former IRS agent, I've worked about, 10,000 cases. I'm a national expert in IRS resolution matters, and pretty much I kind of unzip what is behind IRS and give you that information so you can make an informative and educational decision on the problem you have. I encourage people that have small problems that if I can help you just resolve the problem, I'll tell you. If you have a larger case, you shouldn't be working the case because you're not going to be sure of the result, and it can be a bad air day for you. So anyway, the level of difficulty of any case will determine whether you need a professional or not. I would say 50-60% of the people don't need anybody. They're smart enough to do the work themselves. So today I want to talk about the 433B. That's the IRS version of their business financial statement. I can't tell you how many I filled out, in the thousands. 433As and Bs, and there's some tips on the 433B that you need to know if you're working with the IRS and you do have a sizable debt. Don't give anybody that 433B until you've had a professional look at it. That form will dictate how IRS is going to close your case. Just so you know what you put on there, how you put on, the period of time, a lot goes into that. But the revenue officer looking at that case is going to make a determination on everything that's on that form. So just let me give you a couple tips about that. Is make sure there's going to be some deeper tips. Just make sure it's accurate. IRS has their ways to check out whether it's accurate or not. There's two cautions really that I want to go over with you, really three. Make sure the values that you put on the form, if there's assets, are the lowest possible value. People just give it a shot and say, it's worth this. But if you have more equity in things, IRS is going to look to that. So you don't want to give them one up. If you have a truck, for instance, you want to use the lowest possible value, depreciable value, and you want to do that with your assets too. Many people just say, this chainsaw is worth, I don't know, $1,000, but really if you were to have a street sale, you'd only get $200. So make sure you're using the actual lowest value on your assets. The next thing is your receivables. I don't like giving IRS the receivables because they can go ahead and levy and garnish. And what I do on the receivable list, I give them everything over 90 days. I figure, what the hell, if IRS ever levies or garnishes, they collect those 90-day receivables, that's great. But you don't want to go ahead and have them ever send out a levy on those, because the word's going to get around that, yo, IRS, you're going to find out people aren't going to pay you. So be very careful. What I do on the 433B, I scratch out and I say these are the receivables over 90 days. But if you can get out of not giving them that list, you're going to be in really good shape. The main key right here is going to be the business income and expense page. This is probably the greatest tip that I can give you, and you have to know this well. IRS allows you to put the period of time in that you want to give them. You can use the last 3, 6, 9 months. You want to give them the worst period of time for your income and your expenses. If you give them the highest, you're going to have more money left over to pay them. So you want to be realistic on that figure. So if it's better to include the last 6 months and it shows a more accurate picture and maybe not as much income, you're going to want to use 6 months. If the last 3 months were really good and you've had a spike in income, you don't want to do that. So you want to be very careful. Actually, your monthly agreement many times will depend on that income and expense analysis. So that's why sometimes you need a professional. If you owe big dollars, you really need to have a professional prepare that 433B, because there's other tricks and secrets that we know about that we can use on there. But remember, your asset values, keep them at wholesale levels. You want to make sure that business and expense analysis is accurate on the lowest possible 3, 6, or really 9 months. That's very important. Make sure you can document everything, because IRS is going to want to see documentation for everything you find on that B, including bank statements and copies of expenses and leases. So usually IRS sends out a long list of documentation they want to see. It's called a doc request. So you're going to have to be prepared to give IRS and to support that documentation. You want to make sure all your tax returns are filed, corporate and business. If they're not, you're going to find the agent is going to give you a hard time. So keep current no matter what. If this information was helpful, I really need to get subscriptions. Just hit that bell. It's not that I crave them. YouTube just makes, they like to see people subscribing to channels, because that has value. If you could give me one, I would appreciate it. If you have a comment for me and you want to say, hey Michael, make a YouTube video on this, I'm really happy to do that. So anyway, thank you for listening, and I appreciate your comments. Have a good day.